Hello guys, welcome back to the next episode. I have the next set of clips already picked out and ready to go for you guys. I'm pretty excited to talk about what I want to talk about today, so yeah, let's just kind of get into the clips. For the first set of fights here, I'm going to be showcasing a little bit of what the Black Knight Greatsword can do for you. This puppy has the longest hitbox of any Greatsword to where you can roll catch people even if they have light roll, and because of the sword's length and honestly the girth, it just feels really good in your hands to where jump attacks will hit way farther than most people think it will. You could stand, I don't know, like a football field, maybe a football field and a half away, and this thing will still be able to connect. And like, if that wasn't enough, like you can even lock off your camera and it will get even longer somehow. The sword's damage is really just set to stupid on this thing. It has fire built into it, and then if you infuse it and put a buff on top of that, it's basically a Chaos Blade without the drawback of losing health every time that you swing. The two-handed R1 like comes out super fast to roll catch very consistently, and since the hitbox is so good, it even kind of covers a little bit to your side and like behind you. And the two-handed R2 can also roll catch for even more damage, and if you're quick, it can be used to prevent like backstab attempts too. So there's really just nothing but good things to say about the entire moveset. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not like good enough to beat a good player using like a longsword or like a katana. Like those can still outmaneuver the Black Knight Greatsword since, you know, recovery cancels are a thing that prevent you from punishing quickly enough when someone whiffs. So it doesn't work in every single situation, but to me, the sword feels just better than any other weapon. And I used to, and you're gonna see this in the clips too, that I'm pairing this with the rapier, and that's what I used to always use until I made a full switch to the parrying dagger. I made that switch over the last like couple of years, but I was originally using the rapier mainly because of two players, Solid and Rainbow GG. Their channels were kind of like my first look into how you can really push the envelope of what's even possible with greatswords, and like they always paired any weapon they were using with the rapier. They kind of explained it as like having this kind of perfect slowness to speed ratio, like really similar to like a buckler that kind of gives you like this good feeling for parrying even when you aren't too experienced at parrying. And I kind of adopted that into my gameplay, and when I did, I was just hitting parries all over the place with this thing to where I used a rapier in my offhand for every single setup. But then I saw Papa Perp, shout out to him and his channel. I don't think his channel exists anymore. I couldn't find it, but he changed my entire point of view on the game that I thought after like a couple thousand hours was never really going to change. But dude, that dude just has some of the most legendary clips and showed really how high the skill ceiling was for doing cool shit in this game. Like he would do these like menu swaps from slow to fast weapons mid-fight to get the backstab punish. Like he understood how to actually use spells like mid-fight and like recovery cancels only for the sake of offense and like being aggressive. And most importantly, he could like react parry so many different setups using the parrying dagger. And I knew the skill cap for the parrying dagger was much higher and would work in more situations than not. So I had to just kind of drop the rapier and learn how to use the parrying dagger and just kind of get good. In the next string of clips I'm going to be going over, I'm going to be showing situations where the parrying dagger is just simply going to be better than the rapier because the parrying dagger parries so much faster. Parrying dagger is crazy good, and I slept on the thing for way too long. The margin of weapons and moveset this thing just invalidates is very wide. In the first clip, you'll see me reaction parry a longsword running attack. And just think about that for a second. Every sweaty player uses a longsword. And I know this, because I'm one of them. I was talking about Papa Perp showing me how good the parrying dagger is, but I also meant to mention the guy I'm fighting in the clip you're currently watching, Blue. When I first ran into this guy, he was parrying the shit out of me. And I noticed he was pretty much always doing it when I was doing a running attack with a longsword. And that's because you can reaction parry that attack very consistently. So consistently that we both did it to each other in this very fight. And those with an experienced eye of PvP will also notice that we didn't telegraph the parry either. We did a turnaround parry as the opponent was closing in. And this is really important because a lot of decent players have gotten parried before and know that if you're facing them with the parrying dagger and waiting for them to attack, you're obviously fishing for a parry. And so they'll play around that and you probably won't be able to get the parry. So if you can understand where your openings are, the parrying dagger allows you to play at a much higher level. And that's my go-to offhand weapon. So like I was saying before, the parrying dagger can invalidate entire movesets because you can reaction parry them. In the next few clips, you'll see me reaction parry a couple different movesets. Lots of people use the same weapon types, so it's hard to get clips for everything, but the parry on this dagger comes out just as fast as you can react to attacks, which is why it's simply the best option for your offhand if you're looking to have an option for parrying. Rapiers can be a really good option too, but the parry comes out slightly slower to where you kind of have to predict your opponent's attacks, rather than being able to parry them at any point in the fight if they throw a somewhat telegraphed attack at you. I talked about how being able to reaction parry a running two-handed R1 longsword attack and how valuable that is. Some of the other valuable parries you can find are the running two-handed curved swords, running two-handed katanas, running two-handed greatswords, running two-handed spears. Really the only ones you can't reaction parry too well, I find, are like lances, scythes, and daggers. Lances have this kind of forward momentum push that makes it a little hard to tell when they're transitioning from running to attacking, and scythes have this pretty jank hitbox and you have to parry the tip of the blade in order for the parry to land. Also, some of the moves aren't parryable at all, like the jumping attack, rolling, and backstep attacks. And daggers are just a little too fast to parry consistently, and they can punish you a lot easier than other weapons if you whiff the parry. Obviously, the other movesets that aren't even parryable, like two-handed ultra greatswords and the like, aren't good for the parrying dagger either. But even in those situations like the lances, scythes, daggers, and other movesets you don't necessarily want to be parrying, the parrying dagger is still where it's at, and here's why. As long as you have the minimum stats to power stance the weapon you're holding with the parrying dagger, a follow-up attack with the standing R1 from the parrying dagger will change from thrusting to swiping. Now this is incredibly good for the longsword, sun sword, and the fume sword, since those are the best straight swords to use due to their damage or length depending on your preference / build. The swipe attack from the parrying dagger true combos with the rolling one-handed R1 and two standing one-handed R1 attacks. It's not only the best offhand for parrying, but you also get a good moveset for it with follow-up attacks, so it's already better than a parrying shield. I'm going to transition into a little play-by-play commentary for the rest of this video. My first opponent here, I recognize immediately that this guy is wearing a Gower's Ring and has the tier 3 aura. And this is pretty much a dead giveaway that someone is playing a max level, so it's pretty much an even fight. I also realized pretty quickly that this guy knows what he's doing, and I switch off my Ring of the Living for something that's going to give me better odds in this fight. The first attack I throw out, I actually try to go for a running stance swap to bait out an attack to try to parry, but I get a little spooked since I've never actually fought this player before, and I just don't know what their playstyle looks like. So we just take a little bit more time to play patiently and try to feel each other out of like what they're going to be doing and how they're going to be playing for the rest of this match. My opponent also recognizes that I also know what I'm doing, and he throws the Gower's Ring back on to give himself better odds in this fight. My first hit does basically negative damage because of the Gowers, which is why it's such a fantastic ring in this game to give you better odds to win fights. My opponent is very patient here and gets a good roll catch, and I could have parried his follow-up attack since it was pretty telegraphed, but I'm still kind of spooked by this guy since I haven't seen it before, and he seems to be really good. We're both not really committing too much and using recovery and cancels to play a little safe and rely on good spacing to get in good damage. And as the fight goes on, I realize how disciplined this guy is for his timing, and it might be hard to get good punishes from spacing alone, and I might just have to parry him in order to win. Now, if you're not familiar with like console Dark Souls 2 PvP, pretty much every single max player has a hacked catalyst. This matters the most when landing parries since you can use the climax spell and one-shot your opponent guaranteed. So if either of us lands a parry, this match is just completely over. And this dude is definitely max level because he is using the retainer short sword, which is pretty much like the best thing to use if you're a max level and you want your offhand to do the most amount of damage. Again, the dude's just like pretty disciplined with his rolls, like he knows when to go for good backstab attempts too if I didn't roll the right way. Goes for a good recovery cancel attack there too, just to get a quick easy hit in and then roll back to safety. And I get a really bad running attack here. Actually he gets a good prediction roll into my running attack, recognizes I'm going to go for one and goes for the roll beforehand to try to punish me immediately, so I can't recovery cancel immediately out of it. He also recognizes that it's a true combo with his rolling R1 and then with his offhand follow-up, so he just gets in that little bit of extra damage. So at this point, I realize fully that this guy knows exactly what he's doing. It's going to be a pretty hard matchup to win. He's good at reacting rolling to like my swings as well. The dude's just like a beast. I just need to get good, and I need to lock in order to win this fight. I'm also realizing that like he is pretty much ahead of this fight, and if I get some more hits in, he has the Gower's Ring on, so I could potentially just lose from hitting the Gower's Ring too many times. And he goes for a more good recovery cancel R1s just to quickly get in damage and roll back to safety if it doesn't work out for him. But yeah, try to get him with like good roll catches too. But again, he just recognizes when to go for rolls. He's very disciplined with his rolls and pays attention to everything that I'm doing so I don't get any kind of free damage. At this point, I'm thinking in the fight, it's looking pretty grim for your boy here. He hits a good follow-up attack and I just kind of attack into nothing. So he's got me a little rattled for sure. He tried to get a little too fancy here at the end by doing a bunch of reverse backsteps and try to go for more backstab attempts. He kind of gives up on that fact when he realized that I see what he's trying to do and just throws a really telegraphed running attack at me, so it's just a pretty easy parry for me to react to that, hit him with the climax, and secure the win. For this one, we have a max level Bridge Enjoyer. You can't see what I equipped before this since I made the cut a little too short, but as soon as I load in, I see it I'm against a tier 3 aura on the bridge. So I swap my pocket Pate Spear for a lance, so if I find a good opportunity, I can push them off the bridge with a running attack. He actually pulls up with Power Stance's Castus, so he probably was going to roll punch me, but he made the last minute switch to his pocket Sunsword. I'm just trying to maintain good spacing and going for offensive recovery cancels to try to whittle him down. The guy is clearly not really concerned with taking damage, probably because he has a plan to get rid of all that damage. And you can kind of see him enacting part of that plan here. I know this guy is fishing around his pockets for his staff, so he probably is going to try to run away into the starting points and cheese me around corners with spells. He's playing towards his level advantage in all the ways possible. I think he either didn't swap over a hacked catalyst or just forgot to equip it, because usually whenever someone has the Black Witch staff, they always have Dark Fog, and they're running it with a hacked catalyst. If you don't understand what any of that means, basically it just means that they can instantly poison you with a spell, forcing you to go into an eating animation to heal the poison. This guy clearly has a lot of time spent doing this, because he does understand that he can get gap to run around the corner and heal if his opponent tries to heal the poison. After he makes his 400 IQ play, naturally he starts to taunt me and tries to get me to make more mistakes, or that he understands what he's doing will frustrate an unprepared opponent. Luckily, he was probably too forced on getting taunts off to roll out of my lance running attack in time, and I was able to win by pushing him off. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for taking time to check out this video and my obsession with this 12-year-old game. I will catch you all in the next one.